The canvas inside canvas insulation method was a battlefield solution to cold that modern homes still misunderstand. Armies in the Second World War did not rely on electric heat in tents, vehicles, or field shelters. They relied on layered dead-air insulation, and the most effective version was canvas inside canvas. This was not decorative lining. It was a deliberate thermal system designed to trap body heat, block wind penetration, and manage moisture without electricity. When done correctly, it reduced heat loss by a margin modern electric blankets still struggle to match in uncontrolled environments. The principle is simple and ruthless in its efficiency. 2 layers of tightly woven canvas, separated by a small air gap, create a dead air pocket. That air pocket becomes the real insulation. The canvas itself slows convection, blocks drafts, and absorbs condensation before it reaches the sleeper. World War II quartermasters understood that warmth was not about generating heat, but about preventing loss. Military canvas was chosen because of how it behaves in cold, not because it was cheap. Canvas breathes slowly. Unlike plastic or modern synthetics, it allows moisture vapor to migrate outward without collapsing insulation value. In winter conditions, sweat kills warmth faster than cold air. Soldiers sleeping inside single-layer tents woke up soaked and freezing. When the inner canvas liner was added, moisture condensed on the outer layer instead, keeping the interior dry and warm. This is the part electric blankets cannot solve. An electric blanket adds heat but does nothing to manage moisture or drafts. Once power fails, comfort collapses instantly. Canvas insulation continues working whether the temperature drops further or the wind picks up. In World War II Arctic and European winter theaters, double canvas sleeping setups allowed soldiers to sleep through sub-zero nights using only body heat and minimal fuel. The system worked in tents, bunkers, rail cars, and improvised shelters because it was modular and scalable. The inner canvas liner was never meant to touch the body directly. A common mistake today is pressing layers tightly together. World War II field manuals specified spacing. The inner canvas was hung or stitched, so it floated slightly away from the outer shell. That gap mattered more than thickness. Too tight and heat transfers outward. Too loose and drafts form. In practice, the spacing was roughly the width of a hand. That space stabilized temperature and prevented cold spots. Modern campers and homesteaders often replicate this accidentally with layered quilts, but canvas holds its shape and resists collapse far better. You can apply this at home by hanging a second canvas or heavy cotton layer inside a bedroom, especially on exterior walls. Even a temporary liner suspended a few inches from the wall cuts radiant heat loss overnight. This is measurable. Older homes built before central heating use this trick without naming it. Sleeping systems benefited the most from canvas inside canvas design. So during World War II, armies issued canvas bedrolls with internal liners for a reason. The ground, well, it just steals heat a whole lot faster than air does. By putting canvas both above and below the sleeper, you got insulation without trapping sweat. And when you added straw, wool blankets, or even just newspapers, that whole setup could honestly rival powered heating. Nowadays, this idea translates pretty much directly to winter sleeping without needing any electricity. A modern way to do it is to put a canvas layer under your mattress, another right over the mattress, and then your regular bedding on top. That canvas helps cut down on convection and radiant heat loss while your blankets keep you comfy. And unlike electric blankets, there's no risk of burns, wiring failures, or worrying about the power going out. In cold climates, this method just flat out outperforms electric blankets when it comes to keeping a steady warmth all night, instead of those annoying cycles of getting too hot and then too cold. Vehicles, cabins, and tents all use the same logic, just at a different scale. During World War II, transport trucks lined with canvas would actually hold on to heat from the engine and body warmth long after everything was shut down. Field hospitals, they used double canvas walls to help stabilize temperatures, and they did it all without needing fuel. Command posts counted on this method because, well, it worked silently and invisibly. For folks today, this same idea applies to vans, off-grid cabins, and even garages. If you hang an inner canvas curtain inside your space, you cut down the volume you need to heat. You are not really warming up the whole room. You are just warming up the pocket you actually occupy. This shift in thinking, that's the core lesson those World War II engineers figured out. Electric blankets, they just heat your body, but the environment around you stays hostile. Canvas insulation, on the other hand, changes the environment itself. Durability was a strategic advantage, not just a comfort choice. Canvas liners survived mud, frost, sparks, and, well, years of abuse. They could be dried, repaired, and reused pretty much indefinitely. Electric systems, on the other hand, fail quietly and suddenly. In wartime, failure meant death. That is why canvas systems were trusted. For modern survivalists, this really matters. Canvas does not depend on grid stability. It performs the same whether there's a blackout, a storm, or even a fuel shortage. The insulation value doesn't degrade with time as long as it's kept dry. Applying this knowledge today, well, it really comes down to discipline, not just fancy technology. You want to use natural canvas or heavy cotton duck, not that plastic-backed fabric stuff. Be sure to maintain some spacing between your layers too. And, combine your setup with wool or cotton bedding rather than synthetic fleece, which just traps moisture. The real focus ought to be on reducing heat loss, not just adding more heat sources. If you're insulating a sleeping area, treat it like a World War II bivouac. First, seal up those drafts. Second, add your layer of canvas. Bedding comes last. Most folks do this in reverse and then wonder why they're still cold. Why this method gets ignored these days says a lot more about our modern habits than about whether it works. Electric solutions promise convenience, sure, but not real resilience. World War II armies, they optimized for reliability under the worst conditions. The canvas inside canvas method isn't just nostalgia, it's engineered simplicity, and it still works because, well, physics hasn't changed. If you live through the seasons, instead of always fighting against them, this is the kind of knowledge that'll stay useful forever. And if this guide added real value to the way you think about warmth, survival, and a bit of historical engineering, go ahead and subscribe to Living Through the Seasons and share this with someone who still figures heat only comes from a switch.